Hello everyone, this is Gustav. Here is my second podcast on retirement planning. This podcast is based on my around 15 years of experience and study from different sources. Please focus on sentences and words. I have chosen this format to give you maximum content in minimum time. I believe retirement planning is very important for each and every individual. Because say for example you started your career at 25 years, and you work till 55 years, that means your working life is 30 years. And you leave till 85 years, then post-retirement you need to survive till another 30 years post-retirement. On top of that, inflation effect is there. So hope you understood the seriousness. Listen this podcast till end, you might learn something new. Topic 2, the retirement corpus has to be built over the working life. The retirement corpus has to be built over the working life of the individual from his earnings. A portion of the earned income is set aside for accumulating the corpus that will generate the income required to meet expenses in retirement. In some cases the employer may also make a contribution to the corpus, such as, in the case of contribution made by the central and state governments to the employee's national pension system, NPS, account. In most cases, the corpus is built out of the savings of the individual. In some cases, as in the case of government employees and employees of companies covered under the Employees Provident Fund Act, it is mandatory to make a contribution to the retirement account, and there may also be a minimum contribution specified. For persons in the unorganized sector not covered under a mandatory retirement provision, such as self-employed people, retirement saving is a voluntary exercise. Some retirement benefit schemes, such as the Central Civil Services pension and the public sector bank pension, provided a defined pension to those covered under it. Such schemes were called defined benefit schemes. The benefits received from other retirement schemes, such as the Employees Provident Fund, depend upon the contributions made to the scheme through the working life of the employee. Retirement benefit schemes are broadly categorized as defined benefit (DB) schemes and defined contribution (DC) schemes. Employers provided defined benefit (DB) retirement plans earlier. In a defined benefit plan, the pension amount or value of retirement benefit is known beforehand. In other words, the formula based on which the pension amount would be calculated is known. A contribution is made by the employee, employer or both towards the corpus, which is invested to generate returns. The benefits are typically calculated as a percentage of the final salary. The individual is assured of the pension amount as defined, irrespective of the returns that is generated by the pension fund. There are a number of unknown variables to 12 be managed by the provider of the pension in a DB scheme. The high increase in salary over the years, the mortality factors which will determine the years for which pension will have to be paid, the investment returns over the long-term period, will all impact and determine the contributions that will have to be made by the pension provider to meet their obligations. The biggest risk a DB plan runs is that it could become underfunded or unable to make the defined payments. This may happen if the contributions are not adequate and the portfolio in which the contributions are invested does not generate the returns required to create the corpus that is adequate to buy the annuities to make the defined pension payments over the retirement period. The downward trend in interest rates and the high price of annuities have affected the viability of DB schemes. Apart from the financial reasons that have contributed to the unviability of DB schemes, the change in attitude of employees and employers have also contributed to the decline in the DB schemes. Young employees are unwilling to trade off lower current remuneration for defined pension in the retirement period, which they see to be in the distant future. With greater employment opportunities, mobility between employers is high and the employees no longer like to limit their options to further their career for the promise of defined benefits in retirement. They see this as risky too, given the instances of failure of companies. Employers are understandably disenchanted with the high costs of maintaining a DB scheme. Given these circumstances, retirement schemes have been moving to the DC platform. New pension products are defined contribution (DC) plans which are more flexible. In a defined contribution plan, the pension amount is not known beforehand. In a DC plan, a defined amount is contributed by employee, employer or both, towards a pension fund over a period of time. The final corpus of the pension fund determines the retirement benefit, which can be taken in a lump sum or as an annuity bought from the funds received, or a combination of the two. Since the pension depends upon the returns made on the investment, the contributing individual usually gets some say in the way the amount is invested. This is done by providing multiple options in the way the funds may be invested, like equity-focused, high-risk, high returns, debt-focused, low-risk, low returns, or anything in between, medium risk, medium returns. The decision on allocation of funds to various options and periodic reallocation is usually taken by the contributing individual. The retirement corpus of the individual depends on both the value of the contributions made and the returns generated through their investment. There is transparency in the way the corpus is growing and allows for course corrections at different stages in the accumulation stage. The DC schemes are simpler to move from one employer to another. The National Pension System, NPS, an annuity is an insurance contract which guarantees a regular income according to the terms of the contract, in return for a lump sum purchase price. 13 applicable for central government employees who joined service on or after January 1, 2004 is a defined contribution pension plan. It has a corporate model too that has been adopted by companies to provide retirement benefits to their employees. In the DC model, the risk of inadequacy of the retirement corpus to provide a pension through the life of the individual moves from the employer to the employee. The individual assumes both the longevity risk of outliving retirement assets, and the investment risk of uncertainty in the returns from investments. These risks can be managed by doing a periodic review of the corpus required to reflect changes in factors such as health that affect longevity as well the performance of the retirement fund investments and making appropriate changes to the contributions made to the corpus and the type of investments held. This is only one knowledge-sharing effort from my side. I am not advising on any product or services. Thank you.